Hi, crafty friends. You guys, I am so excited. We are going to do 6 super easy craft projects, all with Dollar Tree stuff. Y'all know that's my favorite. Easy, fun, inexpensive crafts that look so super cool. So stay tuned. We're going to get started. So up first is project number 1, and this one is super easy. I got this, it looks kind of like a flower from Dollar Tree. I put some blue tape in the middle because it's actually a mirror, but we're gonna cover that up. And then I got some of the beads out of the party section, and we're gonna start filling in all of those little slats. And I know you're thinking, well, Bonnie, don't you wanna glue them in? And yes, we will. But they just fit right in there. And as you can see, the slats are open to the back. So what I decided to do was once I got them all filled in, is I took some more painter's tape and I just kind of taped over them so I can flip it over and then do the glue from the back. That way you don't see any of the glue coming forward, like if we did it in the front. I thought this would be a little bit easier. Plus, if we were trying to glue, it would just fall through the slats anyways. So once I put the little glue on there, that will definitely help. But you can see all the beads are different colors. We're gonna paint this, so we're gonna cover up all of that anyways. So here's where I'm laying down the painter's tape. It worked really great. I was like, oh, I could have used masking tape even. I think that would have been easy peasy too, but this worked great. So once we get it all in place, we will flip it over gingerly, but it worked. And then here's where I'll start adding all of the hot glue in. I'm just going each one of the strips, just adding a little bit there. And I was so glad it didn't go through to the front because I was like, man, I don't want to paint, have you ever painted over hot glue? It just doesn't look really great. So this worked out like, yay, an idea that I did actually worked. So I pulled the tape off of there, and then I'm just going to use some chalk paint and really just start going all around this. I went ahead and did 2 coats. Probably could have got away with 1 coat, but I felt like where the beads were, it needed to be covered a little bit more. So once it's all done, we're going to add a little bit of distressing with an ink pad. It's such an easy way to do it, but just be mindful that when you put the ink down, it will get all over your hands if you touch it again. Look at me, did not wear gloves. Yep. I know, I got to get better about that. But I just it started a little bit light and then got a little bit more heavy-handed when I was like, yep, this is what I want to do. So then I really feel this is looking like a flower. So that center part, which is painted over that blue tape, I was like, oh wait, I have this little bag from Dollar Tree and the back of it is just plain. So I was like, well, let's take this apart and then we will cut that to fit the center part of the flower. And then I had made a little flower a while back and I thought, ooh, we could even add that over the top. So I just kind of pressed this in and then I grabbed a pin here and I'm just going to go right around that edge so that it fits nice and good, and then we'll just trim that out and glue that down. So you could even use fabric for this if you didn't have any burlap but you wanted this to maybe be a little bit more colorful or some pattern or something like that. This part's totally up to you, but once we get it cut out here, we will just get that added in there. And then like I said, I'd made a little, more of like a little rosette, and I thought, let's just add that to it as well. So I love, love, love how this one turned out. So much fun. So on to project number 2, easy peasy lantern. Yep, this is with the race car tracks from the Dollar Tree. So I just grabbed a little sign here, and then we've got the tabletop, ping pong balls, that's what we're just going to call them, for the top of the lantern. But you just kind of like tuck them in. You need a sign that, has the edges where obviously it's flipped upside down, but that way it'll just hold it right in there. Now, once I get this part done, we're going to take it outside and we're going to spray paint it. And I will tell you, I should have, here's a little tip, just kind of sanded those racetracks just a little bit. I think the spray paint would have held a little bit better to that, and maybe I wouldn't have had to put so many coats because I ended up having to put 3 coats. And again, I'm using a white, so maybe I could have done this in like black or something, and it would have covered that orange color a little bit better. I think that would have been better, but hey, live and learn. Remember, I'll mess things up so that you guys are like, yeah, don't do that because Bonnie did it and it didn't work. That definitely happens. So we'll get these all hot glued in there, and then I just added a little bit extra hot glue just to make sure everything was holding in place. And then, like I said, we're going to use one of the I keep wanting to call it the table tennis balls because that's what I think they're called at the Dollar Tree. But before we do that, I have a spool of ribbon that is empty. So I'm just cutting off all of that extra part because I want this to look kind of like the decorative topper on it. You know how on some of the lanterns they'll have like the round piece and then the cool little finial or a ball or something like that at the top? That's kind of what we're mimicking here. So I'm going to add this to that, and then we'll add one of the balls, and then we will be ready to go and start spray painting this whole thing. And remember, friends, if you're going to use white like I did over the orange, you are going to have to put quite a bit of spray paint on it. So I don't know why I have the camera turned so much, but anyways, here we go. We're going to spray paint this thing up, and I really made sure that it dried really well in between the coats. I think that really helped a lot. Sometimes I get in a hurry and don't wait for it, but it did. So there were some parts that I was like, I'm not in love, so because I could still see some of that orange. So I just grabbed some white chalk paint and just kind of hit those areas, and that worked out really nicely. So if you didn't get everything covered with the spray paint, you can always go back in with the chalk paint just to kind of cover that up. But darker color, Bonnie, next time over the orange would be a lot easier. So just word to the wise if you try this one out. So once we get this all painted and it's all dry, because make sure everything is dry, then what we're going to do is we're going to start distressing. And I'm just kind of adding a little bit here and a little bit there. Nothing too heavy-handed. I just thought this would be fun just to kind of make it look like it's a little bit more distressed, a little more antique-y looking. And then have fun doing this part. Distressing is my favorite part of any project, honestly. So you can just make it however you want it to look. And then I was like, okay, well, what do I want to put in the bottom of this? I was like, do I want to do a candle? Do I want to add some greenery? Like, what do I want to do? So I did both. I love it. All right, project number 3. This one is such an easy desktop planter. You could even put pins in it. You could do whatever. So I got some of the craft sticks. We got this little circular, can you say circular box together? That would be a cylinder, maybe. Anyways, so what we're going to do is we are going to use those craft sticks. We're going to cut down the rounded edges, and then we're just going to start filling them in all the way around. Once we get this whole part done, and I was kind of like sizing it out, I was like, needs to be a little bit shorter. Then you can use this stick and then just mark off other sticks. That way they're all about the same size. You can just draw it off on each side, and then you can just clip it. So I just kind of took time to do a bunch of them. And then when I was doing this, I was kind of like, okay, how do I want to lay out the pattern on this? Because again, we're going to paint over this so you won't see any of the balloons or anything like that. But I thought this would be a really cool thing. I mean, you could put greenery in it. You could set it on a bookshelf. You could do so many different things with this. So just have fun thinking of what you want to do. But once we get all these little parts clipped off, then we're going to start laying them out on there. So I was thinking, what pattern do we want? And I think I came up with one that's pretty good, but I will tell you, this part was a little time consuming just because you had to get them all cut and this and that and the other. But then I was like, okay, I had to start gluing. I was like, we can fill in the other ones. But I left a little bit of a space there, and I really like how the space is going to look. Just to kind of give it a little bit of dimension. And if you put it down and you need to cut it, you can just trim, if they were too long, you can just trim it off like I did here. So then I was like, all right, do we want to paint this with chalk paint, or do we want to add some spray paint? So I was kind of going back and forth with that too, because I was like, well, I want what's going to hold the best. I was worried if I did a bunch of chalk paint, maybe that would be a little crazy. I don't know. But I used the lid even and flipped this upside down. And then I was like, yep, we're going with spray paint. Let's just do it. And so I put 2 coats over the top of this. Just make sure you are waiting until it's dried in between. And then make sure you gets everything all covered up. So here's that all dried up, and now we're going to use some pickling wash that I have, and we're going to kind of just start going here and there. This pickling wash, man, when I bought this one, I should have bought 2 jars of it because I love the color. And pickling wash is it's honestly a little bit like a stain, but they don't make this color anymore. And I'm like, oh,
right when you find your favorite color of something, yep, they get rid of it. So I'm just going on the in-between parts right here, and then I'm just kind of smushing it all together, or not the in-between parts, I'm sorry, the parts where the slats are, and then the in-between parts will have more of the creamy white color, but just using what you have. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to use a gray and add like another color to this, because you guys know when words are hard today. When I'm distressing, I like for there to be layers of distressing so it looks a little bit more aged. And so then I was like, using this paint will be good. And then you can see laying there, I have a baby wipe, and that'll just kind of wipe a little bit of the paint back, but leave some of it there. And look at how fun this one is. I love it so very much. All right, so on to project number 4, the vintage scale. This project, friends, is so much fun. I did print out like a dial on my computer. I just Googled one and then printed out, because I thought, oh, we could put that on the little faceplate there so it looks even more like one of the faux vintage scales. So other than that, everything else is from Dollar Tree. And so I was like, this little 10 we'll use for the base. Like I was just trying to like piece it all together. There's even like a little table there from the toy section at the Dollar Tree. So I thought we'll use this as our holder and our plate on top. This is where I always tell you guys, when you walk into Dollar Tree, don't look at things for what they are. Like, oh my gosh, I would never craft with kids' toys. Trust me, look at the shapes, not what they are. And then you'll kind of shift your mind to think, ooh, I could put this and this together and create something completely different. So a little E6000 and a little hot glue for like that instant hold, and then we will just start putting this whole thing together. Now, once we get this all together and all of our glue is dry, I am going to take this outside and do a little spray paint over it. I think that'll be easier because, again, we're using plastic plates, we're using wood pieces, that's a glass plate on the top. So with all these different textures of surfaces and whatnot, I think it'll just be easier to go over it with some spray paint. So this little clear plate that I'm doing right now, I'm just trimming off the edge of it because this is going to be the face of the clock. So, and then, when I printed it, I made sure it would fit right on top of that. So we'll get that all cut out, and then we will have that for later, because what we want to do is we want to put the blank on right now for when we're spray painting, and then we will add that over the top of it. So a little bit of hot glue, again, little E6000 for that instant hold, and here we go. We're going to start spray painting. I did 2 coats of this just because I wanted to make sure everything was covered really well. And then here we go. We're going to Mod Podge on our little faceplate that we printed off, and I'm loving how this is looking already. But you know me, we got to add a little bit of distressing to this because that's always the fun part for me. But look at this plate, or not faceplate. Well, you know what I mean. The little part I printed off, isn't that the coolest? So I was like, ooh, let's use some black paint and we will distress with that. I think that will make it turn out super cool. So have fun with distressing this, and friends, I love how this one turned out. So we're on to project number 5. This one, okay, these wall stickers at Dollar Tree, I love the flowers so much. So I took the corrugated pieces and I put 2 of them together because I wanted it to be longer. And then we are going to take these little sticks that I've had. You could use the ones at Dollar Tree and then just cut them apart. But I was like, oh, I have had these, so let's just do it. And then we're going to start just putting these onto that corrugation. So you just kind of have to, like, when you find your placement, just like push it down, go over the little hump, push it down again. That way it just, goes into all of those little areas rather than setting on the top. So once we have that done, I put a little bit of, I missed this part, Mod Podge over the top. We're going to do a little hair dryer. And then I got to cover up those holes. So I was like, wait a minute. Let's use the puffy stickers that I love to do so much. But then I was like, wait a minute, they don't fit the size I want. I needed 2 different sizes for what I wanted to do, so I just used the wood ones that I had. And by the way, I have lost these in my craft room. I wish I could find them again. Do you guys do that too? Yeah. All right, so now we are going to start painting our edges, and I just think adding that texture as well as the galvanized on the back just will make it look so stinking cool when we're all done with it. These flowers to me at Dollar Tree are one of my must-haves. I love them so much. They're just so pretty. And so I was thinking, oh, you know what even we could do while we're painting the sides here? We could even just almost kind of dry brush over the flowers too, just to add a little bit more of a distressed element if we wanted to. Totally up to you, but I'm trying not to do too heavy-handed with the paint because I don't want it to go all over the galvanized or anything like that. So we'll just have fun with this part. And of course, we have to distress over the little wood beads if we wanted to. I mean, seriously, who wouldn't want to? I know some of you are like, Bonnie, you distress way too much. And I'm like, I know, but that's just my vibe. I just love it. So that's why I do it all the time. But again, you don't have to. So we're just going to paint this whole thing up, making sure, oh, here's where I went over the flowers. And friends, that completely changed how it looked. I know it's kind of hard to tell here, but it just gave it like a little bit more distress, like they weren't so perfectly perfect, like we just took them off of the sticker sheet. You know what I mean? It just kind of lends a little bit to that. So once we get the whole thing painted up, we'll get a little distressing going. And then, friends, we are going to have a really cool piece of wall art that's just almost a little shabby chic. Don't you think it's kind of a little shabby chic? I do. So here I was like, oh, let's go a little bit more paint. Why not? You know, always start light, then get a little heavier, because if you go too heavy at first, well, you're kind of stuck with it. Ask me how I know. I've done that many, many times when I'm crafting. So I know I'm getting a little crazy. I decided to switch my paint color and went with some cream just to kind of add over the white. The white was looking a little bit stark. And then we're going to use some distressing wax. We're going to go over the top of that just to kind of tone everything down, and then that'll really make our little wood beads pop. So I was thinking about, do I want to put a hanger on this, or is this one of those pieces where you can kind of like set behind something in a vignette that you are decorating? Totally up to you. I ended up not putting a hanger on it just because I know how I want to set it. This would be, since it's long and would be nice to put like in a bookshelf too, but look how adorable it is. Love so much. All right, project number 6, and this is our final project. So,
friends, you guys, I love these decorative lids
from the Dollar Tree. Are a must-have.
They've got kind of like the chicken
because
wire
see
look
how they
in
have
them?
that little
And I
ridge
thought,
all around at the
I've
bottom,
had them
the
for a
little
bit.
ridges.
What can we do with them?
I am going to make a flower out of this.
I decided to
And it's
pair
so
them
funny
with
because,
these
well, I just traced it out. I
disposable
just traced the petal and then just
and
did that.
we're going to turn them into
But I was like,
flowers.
oh, wait a minute.
So I traced out
Let
my
me see if I
petal,
can
then I just
fold
kind of
this over
folded
and
this
cut
over
two
on
at one
itself
time,
so that
and
I
that
could cut out
worked
more
so
petals
nicely.
at one time.
But
And
then
then
it's
once
kinda
I
in my
got those
head going
done,
for
I
like,
kind of
kind of
creased
like
them
a,
in the middle a little bit. And then I'm just going to start building it
and then I started
around
painting it,
the
and with this decorative
the
background,
lid,
I was like,
because I
oh my gosh,
want it
this
to
kinda
kind
looks
of
like
fit
corn.
right over that. Now I did notice
because
once
of how
I
the
got
band looked.
everything kind of
But
hot
I still
glued
went with
into
it.
place,
I grabbed one of the
you
little
could see some of the bottom of
jar
the petals
handle, not jar handle,
through
jar lids right
the
there from the
chicken wire
Dollar
part,
Tree.
through the opening
Put
on the
that
lid.
as
So
my center
what
part
I
'cause
did
like it has
was
the wire that kind of goes around
hot glued it onto
So I
it,
thought we're
and then
just going to
I
go with
flipped the
this.
flower
I know
over
some of you are
and
going to
just
see
kind of
corn as
clipped
soon
it
as
with
you
my
see me
scissors
starting
and
to
then
paint
just
this,
pushed it back
because
over the
that's
lid.
kind of what I saw
That
too.
way
But I was like,
you didn't see that part.
listen, we are committed.
So now what I'm going to
We're
do is I'm
make
going to
this
start
not look
painting,
like
and I guess
corn.
you
We're gonna
could paint
this
this
up.
beforehand.
So I started
It
with
might
my
have been a
base
little bit
yellow
easier,
color, and then
but
we'll just
I
kind
wanted
of
to
build with
build
some other
layers
yellows
of the colors
after this
of
whole
the.
thing
I
dries.
grabbed out some of
So
the
I was trying to
kind of
make
like
sure
a
because you saw
mustardy color
I
here,
bent
and then
the
kind of an
petals,
orangey
right?
color.
So I was trying to make
so
sure
I didn't even
as I was
get
painting
all
them
of
that
it.
I
I
wasn't
wanted
pushing
some
them,
of the parts
flat
of
again, which
that,
I didn't. So I was just kind of
disposable
going like
pan to show
gingerly along
through.
there. So once we
And
get
then I also
this whole
grabbed
thing
out
painted
some
with this
brown
color,
because
I know.
that's what I'm going to do
Wait till
the
you guys,
center
you're
part
going to see corn here in a
of that
second. You see
lid.
corn?
Now,
Yeah,
from
I know.
at Dollar
It's okay.
Tree, I got
So,
a 3
at
pack.
Dollar Tree,
These are
you'll
like
see these little, there's
furniture
3 in
or
a pack.
floor
This little stick
markers,
I'm
like,
using.
you know,
They're
fill in
for
scratches and
furniture
dents.
or like
And it
hardwood
works
floors
really
to fill in
well
the
also
color.
for distressing.
But
So I'm just
they
really
just
working on my
dress
edges there.
so nicely
Just to
around
add a
edges of
little
stuff.
bit
So I
of
was like,
distressing.
oh, I'm going to use
If
that
you didn't have these, you
because
could
I
use
love
a
just
Sharpie,
having that little
or
bit
you could
of
even
touch on
use
the edges. And
one
then I was
of
like, well, wait a minute. Do I want to
oh
kind of go
gosh,
in the
words are hard
center?
today.
No.
Ink pads.
I was
An
like,
ink
let's
pad
just
would
keep
work
going
really
around
great
the
too.
edges.
So once I kind of got that on there how I wanted, then I grabbed out
this is the
my
fun part for me,
orange,
just
and
adding all the little
sometimes I
extras.
went,
So I
I really
actually grabbed
blended
some
it, and other
orange
times
because
I
I wanted
left
to
it
see
pretty
how that would
heavy.
contrast against the
You know,
yellow.
not all petals are the
I
same,
really liked it.
so I thought
I
we
was
could
like,
really
I'm
have
gonna
fun
use
and play with
this,
this at this point.
instead of maybe,
And,
I was thinking maybe
you
a
know, just
lighter
kind of
yellow, but I
add
figured that
our
probably wouldn't
decor
show up
to
very
it.
well.
So
that's why I was
our
like, let's
decor,
go with the
our-
orange, kind
not
of
decor.
blend it all in
What's the word I'm
there.
looking for? Why are words so hard today?
Absolutely. Look at this. I love it so much. So here are all the projects. Friends, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can see more of my DIYs. Thanks so much.